hated it, and I just said, you know, I have to pursue this dream of being a writer. So it's a theme that recurs in a lot of my books, and you can definitely see it in The One and Only. The backdrop of sports is new for me. When you first read that it was set in the world of football, what was your reaction? I'm just curious. Was everyone? Good. I had this lengthy discussion with my editor, you know, a lot of demographic discussions and marketing discussions, and well, your core readers who are obviously women, you know, like that. And one of the things I said was that I think women do love sports. We're passionate about our teams. Even if you don't get into everyone's nodding, and no one's watching the Spurs play right now. Can you get a score? Anyone have a score? Yeah, let me know if you can get a score at any point. But that's my background. I went to Wake Forest, and I was the basketball manager when Timmy Duncan was there. That's my last vestige of youth that someone's in the finals that I handed towels and water to. So that's kind of cool. But so I told her that I think women are passionate about sports. But the other thing is, you know, I pointed out that I love the Rocky movies, but I don't watch boxing. You got all excited about that. My next book is about boxing. No, I'm kidding. This is a boxing family right here, my goodness. But you know, so I don't think you need to love football to enjoy this story, but it's just provided such a rich backdrop for these characters and some of the themes of, you know, following your passion and commitment to something bigger than yourself, and the loyalty that Shay deals with, you know, well, I don't want to get in. Spoiler, right? And in the last chapter, the book is just it's relationship driven, like my other 6 novels, and you know, one of the central relationships is between Shay and Lucy. I had a Pop Sugar interview earlier, and we spent a lot of time talking about, you know, what we thought of that friendship and the tension between the two girls. And I think, again, Kevin, you're so lucky you're here. Kevin, my best friend from high school. Hi, Kevin. We played college football, and he called. I'll segue into this. I sent him the early copy of the book and said, make sure that I got everything right in terms of the football. You had like 2 changes, didn't you? Do you remember what they were? Okay, no, they were minor. But then he said, I'm really segueing here, but he said, Shay reminds me more of you than any of the characters you've ever written. And I thought that was surprising at first because I'm 42, she's 33, I have 3 children, she has none. I'm firmly entrenched in a career, she was sort of exploring a new one. But once he said it, and then a couple people, another 2 close friends said it after him, I started to realize that I did feel a connection to her that went beyond the fact that she loves her team. And there was something about her voice that just felt very natural to me. I mean, nothing of the plot points. There's nothing autobiographical there. And I did not sleep with my best friend's fiance. Still get asked that. No. At least not that I'm, no. Totally. So that's kind of the book in a nutshell. Who's this with the camera? I wore the highest platform in all of the events I've been to so far was Bloomingdale's in Chicago, and I wore the shortest dress. It's such an unflattering angle too. I mean, you could go on Facebook and see it. It was May 26th, but it's just like, oh, come on, I chose wrong again. So anyway. That's the book in a nutshell, and I would love to spend more time with your questions and do a little Q&A, a little more interactive if anyone has anything they want to ask. Come on. Yes?
As someone who's finished the book...
Did you wear teal on purpose?
I did.
Yeah!
But as someone who's finished the book, and not to spoil it, but I'm wondering, based on how you finished it, if you're planning on potentially doing a sequel to the book.
Well, you know, I've asked about my endings a lot, and I think I have. I'm not giving anything away, I promise, but I think if you look at let's just talk about the first 6 books, which you've all had plenty of time to read by now. You know, I like hopeful endings, but not necessarily ones that are completely tied up with a neat bow. And so I think sometimes when you want like closure on all points as a reader, with my books and others, you can sometimes feel frustrated. But at the same time, I think these are, I'm leaving you with the characters at a certain point in time, with a hopeful certain moment in time. And so the only book that I really know, as much as I can know, that I'm going to write a sequel to is Where We Belong. And such a nice sound that if the author hears that little hook gasp. Thank you. Thank you. That made me feel good. Yes, I want to revisit those characters, but not to bore you with the business side of it, but I switched publishers with the last book, and so it just didn't make sense to do a sequel then. And I also wanted that story to marinate a little more and give Kirby a couple more years to grow up, and then I'll revisit it. But I don't feel the burning urge to write a sequel to this one. I feel like I left them in a pretty good place. I remember before the movie came out, my dad you're lucky too, by the way.
Oh my God.
No, everyone can just.
Oh my God, I told you.
You're not allowed to let him upstage.
I knew it. I knew it.
What?
Totally knew it.
She begged me to come.
I told her
I couldn't not come.
Oh my God.
How's everyone doing?
Awesome.
Good to see you all. Ladies. How's it going? Is she entertaining you?
Das ist mit deinem Telefon übermachen? Nee, ist am Rückruf.
She's a great writer. Is she a good speaker? Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, see, he's missed it. Go sit down.
All right, you finish your thing.
Sit over there. Sit in the armchair and don't look at him the whole time. Okay, it's my signing.
I told you, this is the name for that.
I can't tell from the cab ride over, but don't look so cute. It's irritating. Well, yeah,
I'm missing the Miami Heat game for you.
I know that, but my cat.
Scores are up, sorry.
What's the score?
58.
Why are you referring it as the Miami Heat game? Instead of the.
Where is San Antonio anyway?
Okay, but seriously, that's my connection to the Tim Duncan and the Spurs. You've been in my office, and that's disloyal, and just yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's all about me. So, back to me for a moment. Next question.
I have a question based off of how far along are you on the script for Something Blue?
Oh, so we're going to go back to the movie again.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's going to work. My film agent's in the second row. Would you like to have him come up? The screenwriter for Love the One You're With is here, isn't he? Yeah, come on up. Come on. Why don't we just field some questions to It's all about the movies in this town, not about the books. Here, you two pass back and forth. Okay, seriously. We had a very nice conversation. Well, introduce yourself.
My name is Harry Cripps. I'm writing the screenplay for Love the One You're With.
Okay, so Harry called recently. We had did we have a nice chat?
We had a lovely chat.
We did. It was lovely. It was a lovely chat. We talked about Atlanta in Love the One You're With because he needed that flavor for this because he's Australian. And so we had a great conversation about that. But I am going to give him the microphone for a second. I'll ask the question. I'll handle the Q&A here. Harry, you've rewritten the original script for Love the One You're With. It's been quite a work in progress. Tell us about that.
I came on board when they showed me the original script, which was terrific, and I read the book, which was even obviously more terrific, and we're just rewriting it now to hopefully capture the spirit of the book, but really just to try and sort of mould it into a really fabulous and exciting film, and sometimes to do the things you have to do to make it work as a movie you know, as well as a book. Anyway, it's going very well, and it's great material to work with. Characters are so
Let me
valuable.
chime in on that.
Okay.
So one of well, this is interesting. Stay there. So one of the things that you know, my literary agent Teresa Park called and said they thought of something, a way to really, you know, improve the script and make it work for the big screen. And here's the idea. The one about
Oh yeah.
yeah, which is. So she said, "How do you feel about that?" And I said, "Great. It's great. I loved it. You know, I think it's terrific." I told you that already, right?
Yeah.
Did I write you that today or earlier? I can't remember. But no, I think that I've asked a lot about the movie Something Borrowed and just the whole process of adaptation generally, and I'm always very open to the changes they make. You know, I think that the book is the book, and the book will always remain that way, and people can always love that, and they'll always love that better, because the book's always better. I'm just kidding. But, you know, but it's different. It's not better, it's different. And writing the script right now for Something Blue, which is happening, right? Yeah, no, it's happening. It's happening. I'm very far along in it. Kevin's read the first act. Kevin, do you think I'm doing a good job? Kevin's a screenwriter, so he would know. I'm doing a great job with it. But it's you know, you really do have to change the script, and you have to make it work with the structure and everything else. The only thing I didn't like in Something Borrowed, and I've said this from the beginning, was the well, first of all, why randomly change that he leaves the watch instead of the jacket? Like, why do that? You remember that from the original? Yeah, it's like there's no reason.
There's no reason.
No reason. And I get asked that probably once a month. Why was it so that's, don't do something like that. Don't make little insignificant changes. No, but the only thing that of substance that I didn't love was the fact that Ethan professing his love to Rachel, because I do believe very much in the integrity of a male-female friendship. I think it can happen and does happen. Kevin's one of my best friends in the world, and Colin's what dear friend, and I'm not attracted to him at all.
Me neither.
Yeah. It's not as funny when you say it about me. It doesn't work the other way around. No, not really. They get it. That's why they're laughing. So anyway, that's the movies. Any other questions for the loved one you're with, or we'll just stay up here. Yeah, sure.
Did you handpick the cast, like, you know?
Well, we're back to Colin. Are you getting good pictures of him back there? At least you could hold my book if you're going to sit there. Yeah.
I'm on page 80-something.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Do you really like it?
I love it.
What's speaking to you so far?
I like how you write very seductive sex scenes. Actually, where she ends up in bed with Jack.
That's on page 118.
That far?
Yeah, and his name's not Jack.
It's
Ryan.
Ryan. Yes, that's what it is. I've been shooting a movie for the past 3 weeks nights, so my brain is a little fried right now. But yeah, I like how
Is someone getting a video clip of this? Yeah, you got to send it to me at kate@emilygiffin.com, because I can't. My phone's dead. It was. I thought the car would have a charger.
Yeah, it's like tasteful, subtle. I'm like that 50 Shades of Crap, whatever that is.
Oh, Colin.
But very, very believable, flawed characters who you can identify with.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do that. No, but one of the things I do like to do, and this book I push it a little maybe more than, although it's hard to top, Sleeping with Your Best Friend's Fiance, but or what Nick did in Heart of the Matter. Really, there's a lot of it. But I like to put basically, I think we're all basically good people. We're good people. We're trying to do the right thing. We're trying not to hurt people we love, and yet we find ourselves in unsympathetic situations and making mistakes and missteps and hurting the people, and often it's the ones we care about the most. And so, to me, as a writer, the challenge and the fun is to create these stories and have you root for someone that you wouldn't have thought you could have been cheering for. And so, if you feel uncomfortable at times, that's okay. And some people react strongly against, some of the choices that the character's making, and that might affect the way they feel about the book overall. But I think that's the challenge. I think do you agree as a writer? Yeah, I enjoy that part of it. So, a couple more questions before we sign.
As a writer, I've read that you had a young adult novel that
Yes.
you had written first that was never published.
Right.
So Something Borrowed was your second.
Right.
Where did you find kind of the strength and inspiration to do that after the first book hadn't gone over?
Are you a writer?
I mean want to be.
Yeah. You're a writer. Just say it. I always wanted to be a writer. I always wrote. Since the time I was 5 or 6 years old, I said I want to be an author. And I did write that novel with the hopes of being published when I was practicing law. And it took 5 years because I was doing it while I was billing GE. 80020 Matter 1. I still remember the client and the matter number. And I did work on it a little bit at work. But at nights and the weekends, and it took 5 years. And so when I got all that rejection, all those rejection letters, it was devastating. But everyone knows that's sort of part of the process of writing. And it wasn't so much that I found this great inner strength, or I did this very brave thing and trying again. It was sort of something that I felt I had to do. Like it was just part of who I am, to keep writing, and to just, I guess in some way you do have to believe in yourself as a writer. You have to believe in your characters and your stories and your voice, and you have to have that inner drive and faith in yourself. I think in much the same way that athletes might feel, or these people who run marathons, which I can't fathom. I think running 26.2 miles is as much about the will as it is any sort of athleticism. And so I think of that as very much like writing a manuscript. I mean, if you want to write a manuscript, if you want to write a book, it's all my novels have been about 420 pages thereabouts on a double spaced on the computer, and so that's a little over it's basically a page a day. So if you want to write a novel, you can do it. You can just write a page a day. You don't know for sure that it'll be published, but that's, I think, half the battle. Just like getting up in the morning and training for a marathon and just running is half that battle. So do you agree with that?
Yeah,
I think also you really have to enjoy the world that you're writing about, the people you're writing about, because you've just got to stop thinking about the end result and worrying about whether someone will buy it or publish it. You actually have to really just love the world and the people you're writing about, because then you just get an enormous amount of pleasure every day, just shutting off your own world and going back into that world of these that you have created, these characters you've created. And people I have met who try to write something like everyone wants to write a dystopian universe with set in teenagers now, because of, you know what I mean? And they're all striving towards a publisher, and they're all just looking. And you just have to go, I have to write something I really just love being in 2 or 3 or 4, 6 hours a day. And then hopefully at the end, that will pay off. But
That's so well said. I totally believe that. You have to, it's got to be a story you really want to tell. You can't be strategic about being published, I don't think. No. Well, then there's no joy in it either, but that's a great question. We have a couple more.
Since you did start as an author before it went to the actual film, when you started writing your books, did you kind of position yourself into a genre? And now, if somebody were to ask you what genre do you belong to,
Right.
what would you respond?
That's a great question. I did not think in terms of marketing at all, at genre at all, when I wrote Something Borrowed. In fact, the working title was called Rolling the Dice, based on that scene that was cut from the movie where she rolls the dice. I pictured, the ending is sort of melancholic. There's nothing about it that conjured a pink book with a sparkly diamond ring or the title Something Borrowed. But it was the explosion of Bridget Jones' Diary. That's what was selling. that's the way, that was the marketing decision. And I was okay with that. I sort of said, that's great. I couldn't come up with a title because all I could think of was My Best Friend's Wedding forever, but I finally came up with something borrowed, and they said great, and I saw the cover, and I thought it was pretty. I liked the simplicity of it. It was fine with me. And then, of course, the book sold, and then the next one sold, and the next one sold, and then it's the little sparkly baby booties and Baby Proof, which was the worst title ever picked. If I had one regret in all of my publishing career, it's the title Baby Proof, because you think that book's about babies, and how many people want to read about babies? Really just new mothers and people about to be new mothers, and there's no baby in the book. So, it's an unfortunate title that can't be fixed. But so then it's like, she's the queen of chicklet. She's the chicklet, and that was okay too. I mean, there's the upside of that is you sell a lot of copies, and so it's hard to complain about those pretty pastel covers that really brought a lot of you here to me. You can't complain about that, because ultimately I want readers to enjoy my stories, however that happens. All of that said, there are moments, and I think the reason that we evolved with our cover, that I feel that I'm not reading to readers who will connect with my story, because I would not buy a book with sparkly baby booties, and I'm the writer of this story. So I think the stories have perhaps a little more depth and layers. They do have more depth and layers than I think the covers have suggested, and so that was the decision to make this the departure, which is a little bit of a scary departure, because you don't know if the readers will recognize who you are, your name, and everything else. But again, I think of myself as writing women's fiction, but I don't object to chicklit. Yes. Yes. Yeah, well, no, not necessarily. Thank you. So women, I think of myself as women's fiction. The chicklit has good and bad. And the only thing that I don't like about the label generically, not as it relates to me, is I think it can be used disparagingly to suggest that all books that are written sort of in the first person for women about women are somehow should be relegated to beach read fluff. There's no merit, there's no substance there, and if a man wrote the same book, maybe it wouldn't be viewed this way. And I also like it, and I'll go back to the movies for a second. There's romantic comedies that men and women all love, that we love. When Harry Met Sally, and Notting Hill, and some of these like wonderful romantic comedies. And then you have the ones that I don't want to name because my mind's racing to think. But the ones that are just like, it's a formula, we get it, who cares? And you might go, you might not go to. And so just to put all books in one category of like chicklit, you get where I'm going with this. There's good romantic comedies, there's bad romantic comedies. There's good chicklit, there's bad chicklit. And so, we have to be careful, I think, with our labels. In life. One more question.
A really good one.
Make it a good one. No.
No pressure.
If it's not good, we're going to do one more. No.
I have two. If you could rename Baby Proof, what would you name it?
Oh, I don't know.
And two, do we get to revisit any past characters in the current book?
Yes.
Yes.
But my very closest friends missed this cameo. I always do a cameo. Did you know that? Yeah. Who are you texting?
She's my relationship counselor.
Okay, let's finish on that note. Come here and tell them how good I am. Seriously.
You're amazing.
No, like this ties in nicely. Everyone wants to look at him, so I'll pass the microphone. Okay.
Take a good picture, Emma. But at a flattering angle, my face right now. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Colin and I obviously got to be friends with Something Borrowed, but we got to be really close friends kind of after. Okay.
The table is dusty.
Do I look cute in these? That's not you, her.
He kissed me again, this time on the mouth, then rolled me onto my back. You have a one-track mind, he said, covering my body with his. I think you love the game more than I do. I love it. Don't you just love this? I just want to keep reading this. I kissed him back, my body battling my mind. It's so good. And I think he whispered, "You like football more than sex?" Yes. I think, I don't know about that, but it's great.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, and I always say that I ate readings, and he managed to make it okay. But have a super fun night.
Shut up.
Fun. This is the last question. Okay, the reason that I think you like my books is because I am good at analyzing relationships. That is what I like to do. If I weren't a writer, I would be a therapist, and I would have a lot of really famous clients because I'm so good at relationships stuff.
So finish on that note.
Yes, you are. You're very, well, you just have, you know, amazing female insight into, because your brains are just...
No, don't make it a generic.
No, I'm just... Women are beautiful and amazing, and I love you, but sometimes it's like...
Colin, it's
what?
about me.
It's
not
about
women
you.
generally.
Right. Of course it is, Emily. It's always about you. Yeah, and she's amazing at analyzing relationships and giving great advice and great at giving good text message advice.
So this person, this is like a long time ago. This person wouldn't write him back, and I said, "What did you write last?" And he showed me, and I'm like, "Oh," and I draft like.
No. It's not that she didn't write for a while. It was just, it wasn't like progressing
And then what happened?
in the way in which I was hoping. And then this one gave me a few little pointers.
Drafted the whole thing.
No. Like, okay, maybe a couple. Maybe a couple.
And she wrote back, and it was like 1 in the morning, and I'm like, bingo!
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
He was in our guest room, and he wrote back, "You are so good."
She's really good.
So if you need me to draft anything for you, okay.
Yeah, she's the one.
Sign books. And he'll stick around for a few minutes for pictures.
Yeah, I have to go to dinner soon, so hopefully I can stick around for a little bit. But thank you, Emily, for making my life as amazing as it is.